I'm in Shenandoah National Park near Thornton Gap. I'm at the Meadow Spring parking area. The elevation here is 2840. There's the parking area right here. This is a nice parking area, very popular spot because of this is a starting point for the hike to Mary's Rock. I've already hiked that, so I'm not going there. I'm going to the next peak south called the Pinnacle. Up there is the trailhead for Meadow Springs Trail. That's the trail that takes you to Mary's Rock or the Pinnacle. So we're going up there to start the hike. Here's the Meadow Spring trailhead. This trail is fairly steep. It takes you up straight up the side of the mountain. We've got to go up to get to a higher elevation until we get to the Appalachian Trail. When you get to the Appalachian Trail, you can either head north to Mary's Rock or south to the Pinnacles. And over there is the parking lot where I got parked my car. So when you get out of the parking lot, you have to head up the hill here a little ways to get to the trailhead. So here we go up the side of the mountain. This would be easy to miss in the summertime when the leaves are on the trees. Right up there's the trail. And here's the Meadow Spring. There's a warning on the band, metal band, that tell you to boil water, but they put that on all springs. I'm up to an elevation of 3120. And the trail is up there, and from there it continues on around and actually crosses over the spring right there. There's the actual beginning of it right up there. When you get to about here, though, is a spot where you could actually get water out. So anyway, here's the Meadow Spring. For now, we're going to keep going uphill on the Meadow Spring Trail. Okay, well, right over there is that concrete signpost marking the spring. And here's the trail. And looky what I found right there. There's what's left of an old homestead. So that kind of makes sense. They would build their house there, and they get the water out of the spring right there. How convenient. So let's go over here and check out this old homestead. Well, there isn't much left of this place except for the stone chimney, which is neatly stacked stones on it. At least up near the top, it didn't look like there was much, if any, mortar holding it together. But there's the opening for the fireplace. It does have a piece of steel across the top there. There's part of the wall that's left. There's a bunch of stones laying around on the ground here. And over there, right there, some more of what might be part of the foundation. Right there's a tree that looks like maybe it got hit by lightning, burnt to a crisp from top to bottom. Look at that. Part of it's still standing. So anyway, I don't know who lived here, but I guess when the park was formed, they were one of the families that got kicked out. And this place was either burned down or maybe torn down, who knows. For now, we're going to keep hiking up this Meadow Spring Trail until we get to the AT. I'm 8/10 of a mile into my hike now, and this is where Meadow Spring Trail runs into the Appalachian Trail. If you go to the right, that's the AT northbound. That takes you to Mary's Rock. But since I've already done that hike, I'm going to go to the left, which takes us along the AT southbound to the next stop. Southbound, I'm expecting to find a stone shelter up here called Bird's Nest number 3. Hiking along the AT southbound towards Bird's Nest. The elevation here is about 3380. It's really cold and windy up here. Anyway, that peak over there is where I'm headed, Pinnacles. Bird's Nest is in this shadow before you. Here's a view west. That's looking down into Page Valley. That lake down there is Lake Arrowhead. That's Luray, Virginia. And beyond Luray is the Massanutten Mountains. Big mountain over there is Mary's Rock. The AT's behind that big pile of rocks. I'm still headed towards Bird's Nest Shelter. I just thought I'd run this video for a second to stop and listen to the wind here. It's not nearly as bad as it is right up there along the ridge line. Some pretty extreme wind up there. I'm just a little bit on the lee side of the ridge now, and it's a lot better hiking along here. It's pretty cold up here today and high winds. As you can see, most of the leaves have come off the trees. There's still some leaves. That peak up there straight ahead is the Pinnacles, where I'm ultimately headed. But before we get there, I'm going to stop at this Bird's Nest Shelter, and I might just eat lunch there because it'll be out of the wind. Hey, what are you two doing down there? Hey, 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 hey. This is a family show. Knock it off. I'm 1.5 miles into my hike now. The elevation here is 3245. And there's the Appalachian Trail. That's where I just came from right there. And that signpost is there because there's a fire road that heads down the side of the mountain. I'm sure that road is used to go up this way, which is the way I'm headed, to get up to the Bird's Nest number 3 shelter. These shelters, they all have some sort of a fire road or access road so that people in 4-wheel drive Jeeps, the Park Service, can get up here when they need to and do stuff to these shelters. They're pretty substantial shelters, as you'll see in a second here, but they still need maintenance every once in a while. So for now, we're going to keep heading this way, which is southbound along the AT and the fire road all combined, this little segment here. Bird's Nest number 3 shelter. I'm 1.6 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 3250. The shelter is built along the ridge line in a saddle between 2 peaks, one of them being Mary's Rock and the other one being the Pinnacles. Down that way is Mary's Rock. And up there, you can see it a little bit, is the Pinnacle. That's where I'm headed after I eat lunch. This is a nice shelter here. It's on fairly flat land, and there's one area you can cook in right there. There's one stone grill. Behind there is a water fountain that's not functioning anymore. They've cut the water supply to it. There's the shelter. There's a fireplace in there. I'll show you the interior in a minute. And I'm not sure why they put this that far away, but down there is another stone fire pit for cooking. I passed the privy on the way up here. I'll go back and show you that too, because that's a newfangled composting privy. But for now, I'll show you the interior. This is the interior of the hut. These are 3-sided. They're totally open on one side. This one's made out of stone, like most of them are. This one has the fireplace in it. Looks like it's still working. Looks like somebody's actually here today. Up on the mantle there are some candles and some hazelnut spread, a large knife. There are a couple chairs here. There's a raised platform that you can sleep on. There's a broom over there. Over there in the corner is a logbook. While I'm eating my lunch, I might read through the logbook and see what people have had to say recently. Up there's some pegs to hang stuff on. And these big beams up here, they might be, a lot of those are made out of chestnut. I think the Civilian Conservation Corps built this place. Here's what it looks like. That's looking to the west. There's a picnic table right there. I'm either going to sit there or I might sit in here on this platform. It's a little bit more out of the wind. It's really windy today. Out there is a bear pole. Use that to you hang your food up there when you're not using it, so that if raccoons and bears and so forth come into camp, they'll be attracted over there. If you try to sleep with your food, the bears will come in here. This is not a good idea. So if you're spending the night, please use those bear poles to hang your stuff on. Well, there's the shelter. And there's the privy. That's a newfangled composting privy. Let's go over and take a look. This is a composting privy. You'll notice it's raised up off the ground. The old style privies were just pit privies. There was a hole dug in the ground, and then the outhouse would be sitting down on the ground on top of the pit. So this one's raised up because when you use this privy, your contributions fall down there into that crib. And as you can see, there's timbers with spacing in it so that it gets a lot of air in there. After you use one of these, there's a bucket in there with wood chips or sawdust, or sometimes even just forest duff, and they ask you to throw a little bit of that down in there, and sometimes there's lime also. You put that on there, and basically that is a compost pile on that side. And while that side is building up, this side over here is being composted and turned, and then after maybe a year or so, this side's fully composted, and it's actually safe to spread out on the forced floor. So then what they do is they reverse the setup. They move the outhouse over here, and they take that little cover and put it on that side, so it's reversed, and then the stairs would move over here, and then this side would be filling while that side over there on the right is composting. Let's go up and take a look inside. Here's the inside of the privy. It's fairly clean. And right there is some wood chips, like I mentioned. So after you use the privy, you put some wood chips down in there, and that helps aid in the composting process. Well, it's about 11:30. I'm still hiding from the wind here in Bird's Nest Shelter. After seeing the sign warning people about sick hikers, I decided not to touch that logbook over there. Sometimes there's some good stuff in them, but I think I'm better off just keeping my hands to myself as much as possible on this hike, since there's a warning about sick hikers. And I didn't bring any hand disinfectant with me, so we'll just let that sit there. There's a view looking to the west. There's a whole lot to see right here. Over here to the left is where I'm headed. Up there's the Pinnacle, and looking at the map, it's going to be a pretty steep climb from here to the top. And I got a funny feeling when I get up there, I'm going to be exposed to high winds pretty bad. So anyway, I'm going up, and we'll see what happens. I'm leaving the bird's nest shelter behind, heading up towards the summit of the Pinnacle, but I just thought I'd point this out. Over here, it's a nice little area that you could camp. They have those posts there that say no campfires, but they have the camping symbols on the posts, which means that it's okay to camp over here. So, I mean, it's not very far off the AT. Normally, you need to be a little further off the AT. Or you might want to be a little further off the AT, but what the heck. This is a nice area here. There's plenty of trees for hammocks, if you hammock camp like I do. And, like right there is a spot that's probably flat enough that you could throw up a couple of tents. And up there is the Pinnacles, and I don't know if you can see it, but down there is a little glimpse of Skyline Drive you can see heading off. It's straight ahead in the picture. I'm still leaving Bird's Nest. Here's the AT, and I noticed that that steel pipe there, and it's heading down towards Bird's Nest, which is right there, and it probably went down and fed that water fountain. And there's the pipe, and it looks like right up there, laying underneath that tree, is the spring box. So I guess there's a spring there. They got the water from there, and that's at a little higher elevation than the fountain is down there, so it probably just flowed by gravity down through that pipe and down there to that fountain, which is turned off now. Too bad, because people can use water, you know, along the trail. Hey, Park Service, why don't you hook that back up? Okay, just around the corner, up a little higher on the trail, there's the spring box laying under that tree. There's the Appalachian Trail heading up towards the Pinnacles. There's the spring box. And down there's the shelter. There's a view looking back at Mary's Rock. Here's what the Appalachian Trail looks like here. It's pretty steep. That's where I just came from. Still on the AT, heading up to the summit of the Pinnacles. This part of the AT is some sort of an old road. You can see how wide it is here. I'm on the lee side of the mountain right now, so I'm somewhat sheltered from the wind. Up there is the summit. Well, excuse me, up there's the ridge line. And this trail probably got maybe 2/10 of a mile further to go. I'm up pretty high now, but this trail is going to veer off to the right and then take me up to the very summit. So I'll take some pictures when we get up there. Okay, I'm 2.6 miles into my hike, and the elevation here is about 5670. This is one of two peaks up here. I'm not sure if this is the higher of the two or not, but anyway, that's the other peak over there. That's looking down towards Luray to the west. the Appalachian Trail right there. Here's another overlook, the second overlook up here on Pinnacles. I already took some video of what it looks like out there on the ledge, but the wind is so strong coming up the side of the mountain you might not have been able to hear what I said. But Mary's Rock is off to the right. Luray, Virginia is down in the valley straight ahead, and over to the left is another peak up here that I'm going to go over and investigate, which is heading this way, and the peak's right there. Okay, this is a four-way intersection. I'm on the Appalachian Trail. I'm 3.4 miles into my hike, and now I'm down to 3,300 feet elevation. Continuing straight is the AT southbound. This trail here goes off to the right and back up the mountain. It's called Leading Ridge Trail. The band on the signpost indicates it's a 1.2 mile hike along that trail down the mountain along the west side of the mountain down to the park boundary. There's no access down there though, so you would have to turn around and hike back up to here. And over there, you might be able to see it through the trees. There's a little trail here that takes you down to Skyline Drive, and which is just down there, probably no more than 1/10 of a mile. So this is my turnaround point. I was originally going to hike this Leading Ridge Trail all the way down the west side of the mountain to the park boundary, but it's about 1 o'clock and I've got to be somewhere tonight, and I've got another 3.5 miles to hike to get back to my car. So I am going to turn around and head back up to the summit up here on the Pinnacles, and then back to Bird's Nest, and from Bird's Nest I think I'm going to try the Fire Road just for something different to hike on down to Skyline Drive, and then I might have to hike Skyline Drive a half a mile back to my car. So here we go, back up the mountain. Okay, I'm back up to the summit up here on Pinnacles. I'm 4.2 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 3730, and I guess the summit are those rocks right up there. I'm not going to bother going up there. There's no observation point there. But we're heading back northbound on the AT this way, back to, next stop will be Bird's Nest Shelter. Okay, I'm down off the summit. I'm back to Bird's Nest number 3 shelter. Let me look at my GPS here. I'm 5.2 miles into my hike. The elevation here is about 3250. There's the shelter. Over there, maybe you can see in that camping zone I showed you earlier, there's somebody setting up camp to spend the night up here. Over here is the privy, and this is the AT. I'm heading south down here just a couple hundred more yards, and then I'm going to turn right. I think I'm going to go down the fire road just to be doing something different down the fire road to Skyline Drive, and then I'll have to hike northbound on Skyline Drive for 2 or 3/10 of a mile. So here we go. Okay, I'm just a couple hundred yards past Bird's Nest shelter. There's the concrete signpost for the AT. Behind there you can see that tree's got a nice white blaze on it. That's the Appalachian Trail heading northbound. We're going to turn to the right and go down this fire road. A lot of times in the summer I don't like hiking these because they get real tall grass on them and they turn into magnets for ticks and stuff. But it looks like it's been cold enough up here that it's knocked down a lot of the brush. So I'm going to head on down the fire road to be doing something different. I'm 5.5 miles into my hike, and on the way down the fire road there was this signpost that said spring, but there was no spring right there. But I followed this little trail into the woods for a couple hundred yards, and what do you know, there's a big spring box. There's the beginnings of the spring actually right there. So they dug a spring box here, and there's your water right there. Very nice. I'm still on the fire road heading down towards Skyline Drive. I'm almost down to Skyline Drive now, though. You might be able to hear the traffic. And I saw this thing. I think it's got something to do with that spring. I'm probably a couple hundred feet down below the level of that spring box. And this box has a lock on it. Down at the bottom on the left there's a water pipe running into it. And I don't have a flashlight with me, but I tried to peek in there, and I don't see anything in there now, but once upon a time there might have been a water tank in there to supply water to, who knows, maybe one of the overlooks down here on Skyline Drive. When we get down here, I'll see where I am and where the closest overlook is. Some of the overlooks had water fountains, but they've all been disconnected. So it's possible this is one of the water storage tanks that fed some of the stuff along Skyline Drive once upon a time. There's Skyline Drive right down there, actually. So that's where I'm going now. I'm 5.7 miles into my hike, and I'm down to about 3,000 feet. 2960. There's Skyline Drive. So this fire road is a pretty quick way to get off the mountain from Bird's Nest 3. Going up would be kind of steep, but it's a pretty quick way to get down. Only thing is now I got to turn left and head northbound on Skyline Drive for a couple tenths of a mile, maybe 3/10 of a mile to get back to my car. So here we go. I'm along Skyline Drive here, walking back to my car, and I saw this really unusual survey benchmark embedded in the top of this stone wall. There's the witness post. There's the benchmark. Never seen anything like it. I'll get some still pics of it too. This is just a view along Skyline Drive. This is a map I used for the hike. Its quadrangle name is Thornton Gap, 1994. This is Skyline Drive coming down southbound from Thornton Gap, and I parked right here at the Meadow Spring parking area, and you cross across the road and you hike south a couple of hundred yards and you get on a trailhead, Meadow Spring trailhead here. This is a real steep hike up the side of the mountain to here. This is the Appalachian Trail. If you go northbound, you can go to Mary's Rock, but we went southbound this way along the AT to Bird's Nest shelter here. That's where I ate lunch. Then from there, I hiked up the side of the mountain, up into this area here. Here's the summit of the Pinnacles. The two overlooks are located right in here somewhere, just before you get to the summit. Then after that, I continued on down. I continued on down this way to the four-way intersection right here, which is close to Skyline Drive. Here's Skyline Drive again. Originally, I was going to turn right and hike this trail all the way to the park boundary, but I was running late on time, so that's called Leading Ridge Trail. Instead of doing that, I just stopped here and turned around and went back up to the summit here. Then I continued on the Appalachian Trail northbound to Bird's Nest. And then instead of continuing on up to Meadow Springs Trail, what I did was I came down the fire road, which is a shortcut down to Skyline Drive. And then from there, I walked northbound on Skyline Drive for about 3/10 of a mile back to my car. So that was the hike for today.